You're listening to Engaging Early Learners. I'm Rachel Glassman, special education teacher and resource creator. This podcast is your go-to for classroom strategies and teaching support that you can actually use. Whether you're on your way to work or heading home, I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hi guys, welcome back to Engaging Early Learners. I am so excited because today I have another guest joining us for the summer guest series. Today's guest is Lucy from the Alternative Way to Pre-K. You might know her from Instagram. Lucy and I actually met through Instagram a bunch of years ago. And since then, we have collaborated on Teachers Pay Teachers resources. We have talked all things, especially early childhood education, since we both came from pre-K land. And we have stayed connected through the amazing world of Instagram. So it is super fun to finally have her on the pod. Today's conversation is one that I think many teachers need to hear about. We are talking about burnout, changing schools, and what happens when the job that you thought was your dream job or your dream school, your dream setting, ends up looking a little bit different than expected. Lucy has had a very unique journey that took her from teaching at what she thought was her dream school to navigating multiple school changes, experiencing burnout, and ultimately finding a new role that for this season in her life is a much better fit for her career and her well-being. And I know that there are teachers listening who may be wondering if they're simply burnt out or if they're just in the wrong environment or if it's time to make a little switch up. And my hope is that today's conversation reminds you that it is okay to prioritize yourself and that sometimes the best career move is one that you never saw coming. So Lucy, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We were just catching up for a while before starting this recording because we have not talked face to face in a while like this, but we have connected over Instagram DMs like all the time. So it's very nice to see her and have her here. I feel like for those people that don't know you from Instagram, again, she's at the Alternative Way to Pre-K. Can you maybe start from the beginning, introduce yourself, like who even are you? And then we can kind of, after that, get into all of your millions of job changes.
Yes. So hi, I'm Lucy. I taught special education preschool self-contained for 9 years in the public school district. Now I'm in a private school as a learning support specialist. I basically knew from a child that I was going to be in special ed. I'd be a teacher. It was like literally in the 5th grade after we just service trip to an early intervention preschool. So I went to college, so I started teaching there, and I, right after grad school, moved to South Carolina, not knowing a single person, and took this job, essentially. And I've been in the field for like 12 years now, I guess. So always within the preschool range. The max age that I've gone to is like 5 of kindergarten, and I think that's my sweet spot. I love early childhood. I don't want to go above that. And so, yeah, it's definitely been a journey of job changes, but every single position and every single season I've learned something new about myself, about the field, everything.
Yeah. How many years were you in a preschool special ed classroom?
So I was there for about 9 years.
Okay. And then
that was across 3 different schools though.
Yeah, but doing preschool special ed.
Yes. Yeah.
We taught basically the same type of classroom, right? Like we called it PSD, preschool disabled. What did you guys call it?
Ours was called PIC, preschool intervention classroom. And so the profile of a student in our classroom has kind of evolved over the year. Like when I first started, well, we were a melting pot of students. Like I had students that were speech only. Maybe they had anxiety, but I also had like medically frail and autistic students, like everything. But as the years progressed and the more students were getting identified and basically the need for this classroom increased, a lot of those students that were maybe had less minutes were going more so itinerant. And so towards the end of my time in the public school, we were serving basically students that were non-speaking, high support needs, lot of medically frail students.
Behavior.
Yes, lots of behavior, especially when I moved schools. I was dealing with a lot of trauma. Um, it basically turned into from like a multi-categorical slash high sport needs to like only high sport needs towards the end.
Okay. Yeah. Ours was a little bit different. We had like, it was a public school also. We had like 3 different types of preschool classrooms: preschool integrated, PSD, which was mine, and then preschool ABA. So essentially, the kids with autism would go to the ABA class if they needed like trials and ABA, or they would come to me if they were kind of like middle ish. And like the kids that could cut it and integrated would go to integrated. So my class was kind of like a melting pot of like the middle
That's how
crowd.
it used to be. And that was my favorite. I loved when we had everything because you had
Yeah.
students that kind of like act like peers with the others.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just the way the system works, it just evolved over time.
We always find ourselves talking about that system, huh?
Yeah, it's a great system, especially being in South Carolina. It's a lot different than being in North.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, remind everyone like you're in a different state than me.
Yeah, so I'm originally from New York. So I went from like doing all my student teaching and like learning about the education system in New York. I was like, oh, this is great. Then I moved to South Carolina and I was like, complete culture shock to the school system. It is wildly different. And also, as we got into talking about jobs, just like to preface, there is no, where it's a right to work state, there is no teachers union here and there is no tenure. So that plays a big piece into my journey. People ask me all the time when I talk about like my job journey, like, well, what about your union? What about your tenure?
Yep.
I didn't have that.
I've asked you that a bunch of times. I learned from you that it is not like that everywhere because although I've had my fair share of things in my schools, at least there was always a union to like back you up and support you. And I learned from you that is not the case everywhere.
No. And so basically here, your contract is basically a letter of intent, essentially. And depending not like, at least in the district that I came from. So they kind of do have the right to move you if need be.
So let's share as much as you possibly can because I know, and I've talked about this on Instagram before, you can't always share everything. And we all know that as teachers, we all have experiences and come across certain people or admin or whatever that you can't just come on a platform like this. I can't go on my Instagram stories and just say it all out of respect for other people. And whether it's legal reasons or just, again, out of respect, we're not sharing exactly why we moved school to school or whatever happened. So Lucy has quite the experience, like the amount of moving around. She is not going to be able to fully explain exactly why she left each place, but she will do her best. If you can walk us through kind of like your journey.
So I like landed when I moved from New York to South Carolina. I landed in the most amazing school. Didn't know it at the time. A lot of veteran teachers. While I was there, we got accredited to be a blue ribbon school, high performing school. We had like a mix of students. It was the way their schools work here is our like self-contained classrooms. They're district programs, but they're housed in a public school or in a typically elementary school. Mm-hmm. So I kind of I would have like a coordinator, a special education coordinator who handled the special ed stuff, but like my assistant and me as a staff member went to my principal. So I kind of had like 2 people that I would have to basically report to. And so that was always an interesting dynamic. But I loved my school. Like I said, a lot of veteran teachers. The school I worked at, everyone loved being there. And it was just such a healthy community and environment. Our principal didn't make us write lesson plans because he was just like, you guys, I had like the cream of the crop, the best of the best. I trust you guys to do what you need to do. Like when it came to my program, he would say, you are the expert. You handle this. Like I'm following you. Like it was, I could go to him for anything. It was great. We also had some shifts of assistant principals were always amazing. My special education team there, amazing. Like, could not say my assistant, amazing. Like, it was great. So everything was going swimmingly year 9 or year, what was this? No, it would have been year 9, would have been year 8. And my enrollment for other reasons was down. And so the second half of the day, I was asked to go to a different school where there was a vacancy and to help serve those students' minutes along with a bunch of other itinerants. And when I went to this school, immediately I was like,
when you say minutes, because that's not the same here. So every preschool child with a disability has like certain minutes they have.
They're IEP minutes essentially. So like
Okay.
so being in a special education classroom, you're legally entitled to those service minutes. And so like your service minutes determine your placement essentially. And so because they were in this classroom that had no certified teacher, they were legally entitled to service minutes by a special education teacher. So we legally need to just serve them. And if they didn't do it that way, basically these students would be owed compensatory services. So they were just kind of like piecemealing it together while they were trying to figure out the situation that was happening in there. And so there was other itinerants that were serving those student minutes and myself that was going there. And when I walked into the school, I knew it was not the vibe. This was not neat. Between administration, the state of the classroom, just like the 40-minute commute there, like I was not having it, did not like it. And so I did that for about 2 weeks. And then I went to my amazing principal. I was like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, no, thank you. Not for me. And being the great man that he is, he called up whoever he called up. Next thing I know, he calls me in the office. He's like, you don't have to go there anymore. Like, great, perfect. Thanks for that. So thinking that's a thing of the past, a few days go by, and then he calls me back to his office. He's like, hey, we need to have a meeting with all these people, essentially like the head of HR, the head of special ed, like all the district bigwigs were coming to have a meeting with me. And I'm like, great, what is happening here? So they essentially, because my numbers were low, for enrollment within my program, they essentially shut down my program, moved my students that I currently had to the next school over, and I had to go teach that class, that program, the PIC program, up at the other school that I did not want to be at. And so, like I said before, no tenure, no union. I didn't have essentially a choice. But I was like, upon doing this, I did work with the district and I was very grateful this. Like I had contingencies upon moving there. And one of them was that I would not be locked in to this like contract having to stay at the school for duration, like the next following year. This is also while I was all planning my out-of-state wedding. So it was like very stressful.
And you had your assistant with you?
No. Gosh, no. No. No.
Sorry.
She was already commuting like 30 minutes from the other direction. No, she was definitely not going to go. No, because she's staffed by the principal at the school, not by the special ed department.
Okay.
So it's like a whole weird thing. So my mental health took a dip, but like the only thing getting me through that year was like, it's a couple more weeks. That I'm not stuck here forever. I'm not going to be here forever. And it really was amazing because this was around, I'm trying to think, I've kind of like blacked out this moment of my life for various reasons.
Yeah.
But I think this was like right after Thanksgiving. And so essentially if we go to school in August, so August, September, October, these students haven't had much. And so it was really powerful to see the progress that the students made from the time that I was there to the end of the year, which was like the only thing that kept me going essentially. And so towards the end of the year, I was like, all right, look, we got to start applying for other jobs. At like the last minute, there was another program opening at a different school. They already had a PIC program there. They were going to open up a second class. Interviewed there, loved the principal. She was a dream. I'm like, perfect. This is a great fresh start. Love it.
Because you weren't able to go back to your original school because
they shut down that program completely. Like my classroom's gone. Goodbye. We're done. So no, thank you.
Okay.
It was not a choice, right? Or it was not an option. So this third school that I go to, um, I was so excited. A week after I accepted the position, signed my contract, that principal that I loved, and mind you, when I was like looking for other jobs, I'm asking people that work at that school that have worked with worked either go there or work there currently, have worked there, like give me the tea. Do you like this school or not? And everyone's like, yes, it's great. That principal's amazing. A week after I took the position, that principal announced that she is going to retire. So I was like, thanks for the heads up. Went to it very optimistic. I was like, great. Who knows? The next person will be lovely.
Yeah.
When I had arrived at that school, I was allocated to assistants, to paraprofessionals, didn't have staff for them. And I basically just had like random people coming into sub. And if you know anything about special education preschool, like these students need consistency. I need consistency. I need support. So like the first month was just like keep the kids alive and fed and send them home. Then I did eventually get one assistant. She at the time had just graduated high school. And again, so if you can imagine, like, she's going to make an amazing teacher one day.
Yeah.
But like training somebody that is an 18-year-old versus someone that has had more experience with special education preschool, that was a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
I had to adjust my expectations for sure. And she absorbed things like a sponge. Like she was great. It couldn't have been, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
But as the year progressed, there was a lot of things that the administration there was doing that was not aligned with me, and it became a very toxic environment. We did not see eye to eye on a lot of things, and basically I know there's a lot of stuff that like I can't share, but like one of the things that like basically straw that broke camel's back was I was told that there was basically a compliance issue, and I questioned it and was told, well, I can write to the state to get your license revoked, which it's a very long process to do that. Like it's she could attempt to, but like it would never go anywhere past HR. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
So I started applying for basically anything and everything. I was very open. Ideally, I was like done with the public school system. It was just, I gave it my best effort. These two schools, I wanted to be done with it, but I was applying for stuff internally just because I didn't know if the external things would get, like I would get chosen, I would get a job offer. I was applying for remote jobs, ed tech jobs, early intervention, private contracting. And then my dear friend who does preschool itinerant work for the public school system told me about the position that I am in now. I had no idea what the school was, never heard of it, didn't know what the job was. Went in for the job interview, at the job interview, still did not understand what the job was. Took the job. Because I was like, it was my mental health was deplorable. I was a shell of a human. And I'm like, I just got married. I just came off my honeymoon. I should be like the happiest I've ever been in my life. And like got diagnosed with depression, back on anxiety meds. Like I was like, this is not the life for me. I need to take back ownership of my life and my happiness.
Yeah.
And so I took the job that I'm in now. Didn't even know what it was till like the first week. I still didn't even know what it was. But I was like, anything is better than what I was doing before. And so now my position is much different than the position that I was in before. The school I work at, it is a general education private school. Essentially, we serve 2-year-olds through kindergarten, and then they go on to our main campus that is first through high school. But we will get younger students that maybe aren't identified. So I help with that process. The students that are identified that might have learning disabilities, I help with them, curriculum management. We don't have related service providers on staff like OT, PT, speech. So I work with parents to contract out for that so they can come in and serve the students. And a lot of teacher coaching because, again, all of our teachers are general education teachers. none of them have special education training. And so I'm basically the only person with special education with knowledge on staff. So and I serve 2 campuses. So I went from having like a caseload. I don't really have a caseload, but like essentially working with like potentially like maybe 14 kids to now between both campuses, like hundreds and hundreds of children.
And
so,
teachers.
It's been a whirlwind. And teachers. That's the other thing. So, but that's actually kind of the part that I have like fell in love with is the teacher coaching. So I, maybe not be a classroom teacher anymore, but I very much love, like we're trying over like behavior is my jam. And this is behavior on a much different scale. But have teaching people to understand like the why, the function of behavior, and how like and not just being naughty, that there's like a reason behind this, and then seeing those teachers have that aha moment and like finally make a breakthrough with the student because they followed what I was coaching them on. So like I'm teaching in a different capacity, but I feel like I'm able to reach a broader audience that way and not just like my small class size.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
Well, and we talked a little bit before this that like this is not forever. Like you still don't feel fully fulfilled in this, but for this season of your life, you have a baby. And just like for multiple reasons, this is better right now.
Yeah, I very much love the population that I was working with. Like if you follow me on Instagram, like AugCom is my jam. I live and breathe for it. I'm obsessed with it. If I had the time and money, I'd go back to school to be a speech therapist. Like obsessed with it. I miss it and I would love to work with it again. I'm not working with it right now. We did have one student that I did kind of like dabble with it a little bit last year. That's where my heart lives and breathes, but I had to take a step back from the public school system. That's not to say that like I won't ever go back to it, but just like my mental health, like I was able to get off my meds when I went into this job, which was like huge. And so the flexibility, my mental health, I feel like when I tell people like the only way I can explain it, and this sounds pretty like dramatic and as I don't know how else to say it besides it sounds very dramatic, but like I feel like I got out of a cult like sometimes. Like I was like brainwashed into thinking what was happening is normal. And I thought the state I was like the mental health state I was living in was normal. I thought everyone woke up feeling like that and everybody went home feeling like that. And then when I got this job and then like my boss is like checking in on me and like doing this, like, is this what it is to be happy? Like, which is like so, it's just crazy. And so then I've talked to like other people, there's other public school teachers that have joined my staff at my current school and like we'll kind of like trauma bond essentially. But it's just like it's a bizarre feeling. The only way I know how to explain it is like getting out of a cult.
Yes. Do you think you would be able to identify like what were some early signs that something just felt off? And like I don't want you to be specific about what was happening at your school, but like for you, because I know like when I was not well at my last school, it was little things like I wasn't making plans with friends, like outside of school. I was being like very much to myself, like little. You think you can identify some things?
Oh yeah, so we called it my sit spot. I would come from work and literally sit on the floor on the rug. It was my sit spot, like, and that was me just like disassociating because I needed to sit in silence, literally on the floor, and not like, and I would just have to sit there for like 15-20 minutes before I could do anything.
And your husband just knew.
He just knew. He was like, oh, it's a sit spot day, isn't it? We're just like, yep. And like the sit spot days, like as silly as that sound, like kept happening more and frequently where I was like, it was an everyday routine. Like I would come home and sit on this rug every single day because I was just like, I was so burned out.
Yeah. Do you think was anything else happening for you outside of school that told you like, I'm not feeling right?
I mean, I've had anxiety and OCD my entire life. Got diagnosed at like 6 years old. It was through the roof. And like, the more and more I talk to my therapist and my psychiatrist, they're like, yeah, I think you also have depression. And it was like basically situational depression. I mean, for me, change is very difficult. And so when it happened so abruptly, like I basically was just like ripped. When I moved to South Carolina, the first people I met were at my original school. Like my first friends were at that school. They're my core people. That's who I moved here knowing. And so, and I had been with my assistant for like 5 years. So for you to walk on my classroom on a random Wednesday and see like, you're basically breaking up with these people that you've known for 9 years, say your goodbyes and move on. And so that catapulted into depression along with just moving to school that was not the right fit. And so, yeah, they're like, we got to up your meds here. I'm like, yes, please do.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, I guess for either move, because I have certain feelings about this too. Did you ever feel guilty for wanting to?
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. I always felt guilty because the schools that I was working at were Title I schools.
Yeah.
And these, considering what they didn't have, like, and I'm talking like even just like classroom supplies, like there was nothing, to when I got there was night and day. Yeah. And when I moved the first school, like I didn't know, or like when I moved on from the second to the third, I didn't know who was replacing me at that second school. I was so nervous. It actually ended up being one of the most lovely humans ever that I'm still in touch with, and she's amazing. But like, I felt so guilty. I was like, what if they get the worst teacher ever? Like, how are like, what's going to happen? Because the kids in my program you would have for multiple years.
Yeah.
And then the second school I moved to, I did know who was taking over my position. And for lack of a better way of explaining it, they didn't have the experience that I had. And that made me feel even more guilty. And just, I felt so bad leaving these families and these parents and these relationships that I built with them, because, you know, some of these parents, they might not be getting, they're private services because they're not legally here and they don't have a social security number, so they can't go through the whole system. And so like, I am it for them.
Yeah.
And I have been their only resource. And to basically cut them off and like never see them again, it was heartbreaking. I also like even like felt bad leaving the staff there, because as much as the last school that I left was not great, like my little 18-year-old assistant, like she became real, like I was like, no, I can't leave you. She's like, please don't leave me. And I felt so bad leaving her there. And like I felt like I was like her mom actually worked at the school too, but like I felt like I was like her little, like her second mother, just like abandoning her. And like my special ed team there was great too, and so I felt bad leaving them. But I mean, they all knew. Everyone was like, yeah, you gotta get out of here.
That's how it was. So when I left my last school, it's when I left mid-year, which like was so something that like I could have actually never imagined myself doing that before I did it. I feel like,
but when you know.
Right. Like none of us teachers go into teaching thinking like we're ever going to leave mid-year. That's crazy. I felt super guilty when I left my last school. So I was in a co-teaching classroom, 3rd grade, and it was me as the special ed teacher and someone as the gen ed teacher. And when I decided to leave and they like posted my job, no one was interviewing, no one was taking it. And I just became more and more guilty as it like my 60 days were going, because here you have to give like 60-day notice. And as it got closer, I'm like, oh my God, like no one's going to take the job. So not only do I feel guilty for the kids I'm leaving, but I feel guilty for the co-teacher who has all these kids with all these needs, and they're just going to piecemeal it and put resource room teachers in and out of here. And that's what they ended up doing for the rest of the year. And I felt horrible. But as you know, like I also, like the other half of me was like, I can't care because this is so not good for me. Like I need out. I need something else. So, but that was hard.
Well, you can't pour from an empty cup either. And I think I think teachers, majority of teachers are all nurturers. We all want to be here and care for these kids, right? And sometimes nurturers are also people pleasers, and we want to make everyone happy. But like, you could like, you have to be selfish in these situations. You cannot pour from an upper empty cup. And like you were talking before, like what did you notice? That's actually piggybacking what you were saying before. What did you notice that was going wrong that you're like, this is not it? It's like, I felt myself internally getting mad at my students. And like, that's not a good place to be. Like, you're 3 and 4 years old. It is not your fault. And if I am starting to, like, obviously kids can get annoying. Like, that's just part of the game. But like, if I'm actually like starting to get angry with you internally, that's not healthy for anyone involved. And so like, I don't want to ever get to that point where I am angry towards an innocent child because
at that point you don't even mean, like, your anger is just being displaced at that point because you are just upset and whatever, and you can't figure out what's going on. So you're just like, the kid's in front of you probably doing something like borderline annoying, so now you're mad at the kid. But like, when are we ever mad at our kids? Like, we are teachers. We love what we do. Like, we don't walk in mad at these kids. So clearly something is not right. And I think that's what I was going to kind of get into with you next, because I think this is the question you and I probably have gotten the most on Instagram when we talk about our experiences. Like, what made you decide to leave? Like, what was that final breaking point? Like, I'm kind of in the middle of like I don't know what to do. Like, what was that final like push for you? And it's so hard because every situation is different, and you and I both can never fully tell people exactly what it is for whatever reasons. So it's so hard, I think, to like give advice on this.
Yes. I also feel like when you know, right? So like I honestly, I feel like it's like when you like kind of give up hope. Like I kept moving schools. Like obviously the first one wasn't by choice, but like I kept moving schools until I was happy. Like I knew something wasn't right and I wasn't happy. And so again, change is so scary, but like when your mental health is that bad and the people around you are like that you love are checking in on you because they're like, you're not okay, then you're like it is. And I think the scariest part about it is that first step in making that change. But once you do it once and then twice, the third time you're like, I'm a pro at this. I think it's doing that first initial change. It's like, especially if you've been at your school for a while. And I think times, especially with like special ed, what I hear a lot from people too, they're in a similar situation with me, is like they're overseen by like the special ed department, but also their school.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll have one person that's great, one administrator that's great, or both administrators are not great. And so they keep trying to pivot to get away from them, because it's usually like the administration that people are running away from. But they still love their team there. And I think that's what's hard. Like I always tell people, write a list of pros and cons, right? Then like look at it this way. Do you think you can last another year? Like, can you give it another shot? If you're thinking maybe I can make it mid-year, or maybe I can like I'm trying to think of an analogy. I can't even think of something, but like the skin of my teeth, like I can maybe do it. Then it's probably, you should probably go. Like,
I like you said, like when you know, and like the only advice I give back to people when I get asked this question is, what is your gut telling you? Like my gut was like, no, like this isn't it. Because when I left my first school of many, many years, like you were in your first school for many years, I so desperately wanted that like love for teaching back. Like my whole personality is being a teacher. Look behind me. Like, look at what we're doing right now. Like it's our whole personality, right? So I was like, what's happening to me that I'm not happy doing what I love? So I left that first school, like searching for that. And I had also been there for a while. So I was like, okay, like it's been a minute. Like, let's switch it up. Like that'll be good for me as like a future admin. Let's switch it up. And I get to this new school and I'm like waiting for that like spark to come back. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And I think my gut was just like, if it's not coming, then it's not right. Something is not right. Like you set up your like corner of the room. You like did all the back to school things. Like, this is what you love. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why isn't it happening? And it just wasn't. And I just had to tell myself. And like you said, as soon as I decided, that weight, the weight lifted off my shoulders. It didn't matter that I had to stay there for weeks after that because of the 60-day whatever. Yeah. It didn't matter because I had just made the decision and I was like, oh my God, I feel great now. Because I also had already done it once, but I was like, I could do it again. Once you learn to do something that's selfish, because all we do is selfless things all day, right? Once you learn that you can actually do something for yourself on your own, like that would make you happy, I feel like you're unstoppable. You could do it again and again.
Well, and I think that was piggybacks on what I was going to say too, is like setting boundaries. Never set them before. Now I set them all the time. And as much as those years were horrible and depressing and all those things, I also wouldn't change it for anything because I learned how to set boundaries. I learned how to have a healthy relationship with work. I learned how to not make teaching my whole entire identity and like live and breathe, sleep everything in my classroom and like have a life outside of the classroom. But I also too, like the first school I was at, I never would have left. Like I had no reason to leave. Yep. And I would have plateaued and been stagnant in my career.
Yeah.
And because the way the programming works within my district, there was no like progression in that program except if I wanted to be a coordinator, which I didn't want to be. So if I didn't get to move along, I would have never been in the position that I'm in, and I would have never learned to essentially like diversify my portfolio. I've learned all these new curriculums. I never worked with gen ed students before. I was like, wow, these students sit in a chair. They talk. This like verbally speak. This is so different. I was like, I don't know, I like this. But it's again, it's great for this season of my life. And I think it's solidified that like special education, specifically like a self-contained classroom, is my jam. But it's at least given me the experience with these students and working with teachers. Like I never would have found my love for coaching other teachers. Like now in my head, I'm like, in an ideal world, they would have like a curriculum coach for my former program I was in. Like that would take in a heartbeat. But like, I don't think I would have ever learned so much about myself, learned so much about this career had those changes not happened.
Yeah.
It's so hard to tell someone in the moment or that's in the thick of it that like there is a light of the tunnel. It does get better because when you're in the thick of it, like for lack of better words, it sucks. Like it really sucks. But like I promise you, you will find that school eventually. It might take 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 tries till you get it right. But like when teachers are thinking of leaving the profession, like if you have to leave completely, like you do you. If that's, I'm no judgment whatsoever. But I do encourage people just like make a few switches. Switch districts, switch classrooms, switch from special ed to gen ed, switch from public to private. Like, do some experimenting around, and
well,
you might get your spark back.
I keep saying to people too, like, what's the worst case?
Yes.
Oh, you don't like your new position? Leave that too. Literally, leave that too. People in other professions do this all the time, and there is just something with teaching and teachers. I mean, we all know, like, the teachers that have been in our schools for, like, 30 years. Like,
it's open.
Yeah, and shout out to my friends listening that have been teaching for, like, 30 years. And, like, I love you all, but I'm sorry. Like, you don't have to do that. If you are not happy, if you want to switch it up, go switch it up. And if you get burnt out, like, let's say my classroom, for example, I work with kids with behaviors all day. Every kid in my classroom has behaviors. That is going to burn me out eventually. I can't do that for my whole life. I'd say it to anyone. So eventually I'm going to switch out of doing that. That's okay. Like, I just think people, and like, believe me, I was this way at first, take it so dramatically. Like, and it's like this huge, big thing, but like, it's not. Just go switch schools. And like, you lose your tenure. Lucy doesn't even have tenure. Like, who cares? Who cares?
Well, I think one of the things too is like, which I learned the hard way, is like it essentially is a business. Like,
Yep.
you are replaceable and they will replace you.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid something would happen and I had to and I had to stay at home and not work anything, like, they would replace me. So whether I'm leaving on my own terms or not, that's how the system works. They will replace you. And so I like that's in any job, not just education, but for some reason, I think in the field that we're in, that's like a very hard pill to swallow.
Of course, because I mean, our kids are like our actual real kids.
They become
like
students, yes.
like our
You know
kids.
what I meant. They become
Yes.
kids, yes.
Like our actual kids. So it's like crazy, like, oh, like you're gonna leave those kids. And like if you have to, I'm not encouraging everyone to just like up and leave in the middle of the year, but if you truly have to, like, yeah, you're gonna, and like that's what's gonna happen. And some other adult will be in there and they'll get through. Kids are super resilient, more actually sometimes than we are. Like, they adjust to change sometimes better than we do. So like they'll be okay. You have to do what's best for you. And I think maybe it's a younger person thing, but like I feel like us younger teachers are better at realizing that than our older teacher friends.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah. Well, I look at I've heard older teachers like, well, I'm so close to retirement, or like, I don't want to learn something new, or so like they're just like stuck in their ways. And like, that's fine if you want to keep going down that horrible rabbit hole, like, do you? But like, I cannot watch this dumpster fire burn anymore. I am out.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it's a really hard. I think it's because there's so much emotion in it, right? Because we're not just like crunching numbers like an accountant. Like, we are in the business of people. We're in the business of human beings. Like, what we do every single day is shaping kids, like their future.
Yeah.
Like, that's not to discredit all the other professions that are out there, but like, we're in the business of humans. So when we are removing ourselves from other humans, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like,
what we do is like a really big deal.
right. Yes. But like, and I think too, that's where like us that are like boots on the ground in the schools, in the classrooms, doing the things, like, we're still in this business of people. Like, we're looking at it from a like empathetic place and like an emotional state, right?
Yeah.
But when you have these district leaders or administrators, they are coming at it essentially from like a business position, not from like a numbers, data, not like human connection, essentially.
Yeah.
And so when those are the people that are making the decisions, they're not making it with your feelings in mind. And I get that, because that's your job.
Yep.
But that's why when that change does happen and it's out of your control, it is super emotional, because you're working with humans, and like, being an elementary or early child, they're babies. So, like, they are so itty bitty. Like, I mean, not as like, they're not, now that I have a baby, I feel like I shouldn't be saying they're babies, but like, they are like, they don't,
and they're still
a very
developing
crucial time in their life.
Yes.
And you are helping be a part of that.
At any age, like, all these kids are still developing. Like, we are all helping them develop. It's a huge, huge deal what we do. So we, of course, feel guilty or whatever when we have to make those selfish decisions and do what's best for us.
Yeah. And it's the same thing too, where like, when everyone's like, well, you're not in it for the pay. No, I do need to pay my bills. So like, I am somewhat in it for the pay, but like, you're right. I wouldn't do this job if I didn't love it. Like,
No.
I think there's kind of two types of people. There's people that do, and it happens all the time. You can pinpoint who those teachers are, people who are there to collect their paycheck and go, and like aren't giving 110%. But like, there are also people who are giving it their all because they're passionate and they love it. And so, like you were saying before, when you lose your spark and you're like, I don't like doing this anymore.
Yeah.
That's not okay. Like, I should enjoy coming to school. I should enjoy coming to my job to an extent. Like, every job's going to have like its pitfalls and its like issues.
Totally.
You shouldn't be like crying and dreading going to work every single day. And if you're at that point, then I highly suggest you look somewhere else.
Well, right. And you shouldn't be going home sitting on your sit spot every single day. Maybe like once in a blue moon, like when you have a bad day.
It's every day. That's like an issue.
Right. And like when I wasn't like making plans with my friends, I wasn't hosting. Like I love hosting my friends here. I wasn't doing those things. My friends were like, "Are you okay?" Like those things shouldn't be happening. And when you realize those outside of school things also are being affected, like something's not right.
Yeah. And I think other people see it before you do. Like I had people like checking in on me and like family, friends, and they just like notice these little shifts, and like I wasn't even cognizant of what was happening in my brain, and all these people around me like I, to this day now, I see it when I look back at pictures, like I was very thin for my wedding, like a great fit into my wedding dress, best shape I'll ever be in, but I also had depression and wasn't like eating properly.
Yeah.
So like when it's taking, like it was taking a physical toll on me, and people around me were noticing and I wasn't, like that's when you're like, oh, something's off.
Yeah. A good example of that. Do you follow Stephanie from Mrs. D's Corner?
Mm-hmm.
She always she'll always post like pictures, and she's very open about it. Like when she was going through it with like work, and you could see in her smile, even in her pictures, that she like wasn't doing okay. And now like she'll post pictures comparing to now her smile, and she's just so happy and joyful. And just a picture of someone smiling, you can tell.
I'll like go back and look at old pictures or reels or stories that I've like archived, and I'm like, wow, you look unwell. Like just like my face looked shallow, probably from crying an hour before I filmed it. And like that's what's also exhausting too, I think, in our profession, is like we can't come in crying or hide behind a computer. No. We have to come in because we're already like putting the whole song, show, and dance on in early childhood. Like, I mean, circus performer for all the kids know. Yeah. And I have to have a smile on my face because I'm working with small children. And so it's more exhausting, I think, fighting through the depression and the sadness and the pain to put on this fake smile than it is to just leave. And so I don't think anyone ever talks about too how exhausting it is to like fake it, because you don't have a choice but to fake it.
Yep. Yeah, because we are putting on a song and dance for 7 hours a day or whatever it is on a normal day. And then if you're miserable or depressed or anxious or any of those things, it's only harder. And of course, like even if you're in a great situation at your job, you're going to have days like that. Like everyone, everyone, because of outside things or whatever, like still has those days here and there. We're talking like all the time. Like when you're feeling it, for multiple days in a row, or like you're realizing like going into that building is making you feel a certain type of way. Like those are signs that like, okay, something's not right. And I think, I mean, we could go on and on for hours probably on this topic, but I think also coming out on the other side, like after leaving and then interviewing and looking for your next school or job or whatever, at least for me, I went in like no bullshit. Like I know what I want. I know what I don't want. I know I want to be happy. I know I don't want to be unhappy. So I feel like I went into those interviews like a million more questions than I would have asked before, or like checking up on certain things online. Like, do you feel like your interviews and like what you wanted shifted?
I felt more confident, I think, in them because I knew what I wanted, and like I also knew what I was worth. Like there was jobs that I had applied for, and I already took a huge pay cut taking the job that I had, but like there was jobs that were like literally a tenth of what I was going to be or what I would have been making. Yeah. And I was like, this job is like my dream job, but I can't do it for the pay. I wasn't willing to compromise on certain things. Like there was other jobs that I applied for under like, you can't do TBT and you can't do social media. And I was like, sorry, no, thank you. Like
That,
no, I can't do
yeah,
that.
that's a good point. I started putting on my resume actually, like my
Yep.
whole like, Instagram, why I do it, and like how I think on the back even of my resume, like links to I also have a website. I also sell on Teachers Pay Teachers, and you're gonna need to be okay with all of these things when hiring me because I don't want to hear about it later because that definitely played a role in some of my previous jobs. So like I'm sorry. Like there were just certain things like you said you knew your worth and not only did I know my worth, but like I was like I know what I'm doing now. Like when I interviewed for my very first job right out of college, sure.
Yeah.
I knew
I don't
nothing.
know how I even got the job that it was before like Zoom and everything. I had a phone call with the principal and they hired me over the phone. How that happened, no clue.
I went in
Zero
with a
clue.
full binder portfolio. I bet you they didn't even look through it. I bet you I was shaking. I probably wore like dress pants and a shirt. Like to these interviews, I like went in my car on Zoom, probably like hair up. Like who even knows what I looked like? But I was like, I know what I'm doing. And I know I'm a really good teacher and I deserve to be in a really good school. So either you're that or like I'm good. And I just think my confidence like spiked because I was like, I don't need you. Like, I'm good. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. And like I again had so much confidence that I took a job that I didn't even know what it was because I
Yep.
was like, you know what? Whatever you're pitching to me, it sounds great. I'm pretty confident I can do that. I don't know what half of this is, but like, let's give it a whirl. And like, that's the other thing. I mean, I tend having OCD, one of my characteristics is catastrophizing. So, but like, I feel people tend to do this anyways, is like they think about the worst case scenario. Like, it's
Yep.
all going to go downhill. And so much of your thinking you have to reframe is like, what if it all works out?
Yeah.
What's the worst that happens? Okay, so you move to that school and it sucked. Okay, move on to the next. You just like that's just like what you do. So like 1 year kind of sucks, or even if you move mid-year, you just move on. Like,
Right.
and again, I think hopefully, if you do choose to move schools or districts or professions, the first time you move, it's great. But if
Yes.
you or follow either one of us, sometimes it doesn't happen that way. But like you just kind of have to keep going until you're happy. And like I said, like the position I'm in now, it is not my forever career. It is great for my season of life. I might be
Yep.
going through this again. The next position I might have, it might suck. I might hate it. It might be not be great. And I might have to move on from that as well. It's just like
Yeah.
you have to do what's right for you and you'll know when it's time.
Totally. And I think like through all these changes, something I'm learning about myself is like I actually kind of like switching it up every couple of years. Like I spent my first 3 years doing preschool special ed, and then I went to my very kind, amazing principal and was like, I need something else. I did the second grade co-teaching, like whatever. Now I'm doing ERI behavior. Like I'm liking that. I definitely know now being back in self-contained, I love self-contained and like doing whatever I want for my kids and what's best. Um, but I am kind of liking like switching it up every once in a while. As someone who hates change, I actually have liked that because I think it like gives me a new challenge. I think I need to be challenged. I know I'm good at this job, so I know I can do multiple different like I can teach in multiple different settings and like look at me. Like and I wouldn't know
Right.
that if all these
Yeah.
things like didn't happen this way.
Well, that's like I was saying before. Like I would have been stagnant in my career. I would have never known that I liked coaching teachers. I would have never known that I worked working with this population. And so like
Yeah.
change can be good. It also like diversifies your portfolio for the next time when you do go get to get a new job, like they're like, oh, you did this, that, whatever. Like that's amazing that you're able to adapt and change that quickly.
Yep.
Like it's you have to look at like the positives that come from change. Again, when people send me the DMs, like the number one thing I think is just like hard change sucks. It sucks. But once you get over that hurdle, it can be so amazing.
And if it's not,
And it's not you move on. You go to a different school.
Cares.
Or maybe you leave the profession altogether too. Or like
yeah.
and all this being said too, like if you're in your dream school with your dream team and you love it, stay.
Yeah.
If that's what makes you happy, stay. Because
Yeah.
I think there is so much like discourse, what like we say, we go, and there's so much judgment around everyone's decisions, which I don't think would happen if social media wasn't a thing.
100%.
Like, people have been doing this way before Instagram and social media. Like,
yep.
They would leave profession. They would get a different job. They would change positions.
Yep.
And it's okay. You can't worry about what other people are thinking, whether it's on social media or in your school or in your district. Like,
also, like, take a break. Like, I think we are all, I mean, I was going to say we're all so young, but even someone, let's say you're older, take a break, take a year off, do something else for a year, then come back to teaching. Like, maybe you need that. Like, teaching takes up so much of you, no matter what you teach, who you teach, where you teach. Teaching takes up so much. Like, go take a break. Like, we tell our kids, let's go take a break.
Take a break. And then, and come back, don't come back. It's totally up to you. Like, yes, I feel like, and maybe it's a generational thing. I feel like we were just like all raised to be like hard workers and just be selfless. And so whatever, is it Gen Z below us? Like, they're the ones that are like better at advocating for themselves. But like, and I feel like our generation is coming to terms with that finally. Maybe a little too late, but like, it's, you have to just not care what other people think. And I think too, that's, I guess, like, and maybe this is like a very niche thing, especially for like in art, like for us, who people that do have a social media platform. So if you do have a social media platform and you're listening to this, there is so much judgment for people that are still in social media that have like left the classroom, or like they still continue making resources. Your time in the classroom, like, I don't want anyone to ever discredit that. Just because you left the classroom, that doesn't discredit your experience and your expertise in that area. Like, it drives me crazy when I see that happening with people like getting destroyed in the comments. You're like, you're not a real teacher, you're not in the classroom. Well, what about the 10 years that I just spent giving my whole soul to these kids? Like, I feel like once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher.
Yes. I just saw someone post that she's taking a break for a year, and she said she was having such a hard time with having to share it, and like was so scared to share that she was taking a break. And it's like, and then she went on to explain like that her, her content might change, whatever. It's like the pressure that people put on themselves. Like, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but in summary, how shall we summarize what we've talked about today?
I don't even know. Feeling you were in all over the place.
In summary, if you have a gut feeling, you should listen to it. And you should have high expectations for your next placement. And you should ask all the questions. Have confidence in yourself that you're great. And if it doesn't work out, who cares? Go somewhere else after that. And maybe go somewhere else after that. Like, literally, it doesn't matter. Do what Lucy and I did. Just like keep switching it up until it works. We both even just admitted that like where we are right now is also not our forever. So like maybe we'll go somewhere else again. So stay tuned for that. But I feel like that's the summary, right?
Yeah. Yes. And like, take care of yourself by all, like, just bottom line, take care of yourself, because like, you can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot be a good teacher if you are not in a good mental state. And it's not helpful for anyone involved if you are not taking care of yourself, and you have to be selfish. And I give you permission. If you need permission to do that, I'm giving you permission to be selfish and take care of yourself.
Yes, we both do. I feel like we have 0 time left, so we can't do it right now, but we need to have a whole separate episode with you just talking about all the amazing stuff that you create, because you and I met through making things on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I like totally have stopped creating new things, but you are continuing, and you make the most beautiful, thought out resources, especially for early childhood. Yeah, no problem. I use some of them. So I'm just going to do a quick plug for you. Everyone go check out Lucy on Instagram and TPT, The Alternative Way to Pre-K. Her stuff is stunning, and it's very well thought out. She knows what she's doing, even though she's not in the classroom right now. So go check that out, and we will definitely have her back on to talk more about preschool special ed and that whole world, because I think a lot of our following is still that. So that would be helpful.
It's a very unique niche in the preschool special ed world.
It is, and we should definitely talk about it. But thanks for coming on today. I think this was an important conversation, one that I've wanted to have, but it's important to also have someone on that's experienced it. It helps. It helps people see that like they're not alone in these thoughts. So I hope that this was helpful today. Thank you for coming on and being willing to share your story. I know so many teachers are going to see themselves in parts of our journeys, and hopefully they'll walk away feeling a little less alone and a little more hopeful. So if this was helpful, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. If you still want some of our advice, also feel free to DM us. We both answer very quickly, so feel free to message us whenever. Lucy does have a baby at home now, so she might take a little longer, but
I'm usually like nap trapped or I'm stuck with her on my chest, so like
you're ready.
I need to pass the time.
She's open and ready. Definitely reach out to us. We would love to be of some support to you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next week. Bye.